Greetings, salutations. Unfortunately for you, I am back here with another video. This one is actually geared towards a particular question in general. It was asked in the Basic Fantasy RPG Facebook group, and I'm going to attempt to answer it, give some advice and some tidbits. Michael asks about basically how to run this game. He's coming from video games and stuff like that. He's concerned that he doesn't have a story. The rules appeal to him. Basically, what can he do to run this game for the first time? So, Michael, I want to give you a shout out, and I also want to say welcome to our nerdy little hobby. I hope you find your time here enjoyable, and I hope it's a long lasting lifetime membership. It is a nice little hobby. Coming from a video game background myself, in fact, my channel started off as a Dark Souls playthrough channel. Uh, I understand the concern. So, just to show you that I am somebody who I don't claim any authority, simply as somebody with experience. Here is my third edition book, complete with tobacco stains on the side and dog ears at the corners. I have spent many, many, many hours in this book running game sessions with it. It kindles something when you pick it up. So I want to first and foremost say, don't worry too much about the rules. That is to say, get a decent enough handle on them, but don't be too wildly concerned about it. There's some very basic rules that you need to get a grasp on, and that is character creation. That's going to be very important if you're going to have other people playing. You're going to want to focus on movement and weight and how they relate to each other. You want to focus on light because light is actually a very often overlooked mechanic. And of course, how combat initiative work. Once you have a grasp of that stuff, you're fine. Um, just briefly go over them each and every day. The cool part about this is I'm going to tell you something that might shock you. I've never read this cover to cover. Instead, I've used it like a reference document. What I just told you is how I learned. And I've picked up on my mistakes over the years. And I know every page in this book now. So I know where to go when I have a question. So just get yourself very familiar with it. Movement is found in part 4, the adventure. It is in the third edition, page 36. If you're using fourth edition, I'm not sure what page number that will be. But if you're using fourth edition, it's not going to be that different. Now, weight is a little different between those two editions. I believe it takes 20 coins to equal a pound in fourth, where it only took 10. I don't understand that change, but I digress. And I want you to also understand, once you get a basic hold on this, if you want an adventure that's ready to play, Basic Fantasy, of course, has a forum. And, so simply go to basicfantasy.org. You'll find ready to play adventures. You'll play modules. You'll find settings. You'll even find some optional classes and races and stuff like that. So if you're wanting to add some more things, more complexity to your game, definitely go over there and take a look. I've shown my omnibus on this channel, in which I've added other things, and some of it not even strictly Basic Fantasy related, just general RPG stuff that I added to it. That also being said, the next thing I want you to realize is that there are different ways to play. Two very prominent ones. One is called what we call sandbox. The other one is called more what I call narrative. Both are excellent ways to familiarize yourself with the game. Now, I want you to realize that it doesn't take a lot to draw a story out of the game. I prefer sandbox, but I'm not afraid to pre-plan some things ahead of time. That being said, not everything is pre-planned. I'm not uh, omniscient. I can't make contingency plans for every single player decision. And that's something you need to realize is that when you have other people playing your game, you should expect the unexpected. You should expect to be taken by surprise. So instead of planning, well, if they do this, this happens. Well, what if they don't do this? Well, they do something that you didn't account for. So just leave it bare bones. Make some dice rolls if you want to, and then just move on. Now, I want you to realize that even though I am a sandbox GM, that's not to say that I don't come up with scenarios. There is a section in the back for the game master information. And if you keep going back, you'll eventually get to creating a dungeon adventure. Now, I want you to read this section because this relies on what is called the mold vein method, which is an excellent method for coming up with hooks for your games. And so it'll go. The first section is think about why. So to explore the unknown, it's common in Pulp Fiction. One or more characters that has heard some ancient site and wish to explore it purely for knowledge. Possibly some of the other player characters are involved for other reasons. Another possible one is to battle an evil incursion. Goblins are raiding farms in the area, and the Baron has offered a reward for stopping the raids. The player characters are happy to help. Another one, a very popular one, rescue a kidnapped victim. Some friend of the player characters has been kidnapped, and they must sneak into or storm the villain's tower cave dungeon to rescue the victim. Or perhaps the victim is the son of the daughter of the local baron or a wealthy merchant who offers a reward for the safe return of his or her offspring. Another one, to fulfill a quest. Another popular one. A local church to whom the player characters owe a favor, but like an ancient relic, recover from a lost mountain fortress, and the high priest asks them to look into it. Or some similar task might be assigned depending on who the player characters owe a favor. So think about the classes of your player characters. Are they fighters? Are they magic users? Are they clerics? Are they thieves? What races are they? Like maybe the elf player character is in league with a particular elf faction, but one of the higher ranking members of this elf faction, I'm just kind of riffing here, once has heard of this thing and they want the player characters to retrieve it, and in exchange for that they're going to give them a reward, so just, or perhaps they'll say if you can find this and you can keep it and we'll upgrade your rank and stuff like that, some faction play a little bit. But be that as it may, you don't necessarily need faction play, although I do highly recommend it because it adds a level to your game. But don't worry about faction play right now. Just think about the basics. So, another one, to get loot. It's a common scenario. It's simple. The dungeon is rumored to contain a hidden treasure of great value, and the first characters to find it will be rich. Of course, the treasure might not be that huge, and it might be guarded by any number of horrific monsters. So that's another scenario. To escape confinement, characters have been captured by an enemy and find themselves incarcerated without their weapons, armor, or equipment. The scenario must be used with care, as the GM must not be seen to be railroading the characters into the adventure. I would also highly recommend that you make sure that escape is possible. That's something that Mulvey wrote in the original basic expert rules. So if you decide to go with that scenario, make sure that you make it feasible for them to escape. Possible. It does have to be easy, but just some ideas. And you'll be very surprised at how much of a story you can draw out of that without a whole lot. It's very bare bones. So to give you an idea, here's one I'm working on right now. It's a rescue princess. Literally all I have is background. It's a rescue princess kidnapped by evil NPC party. Because I thought that sounded cool. And the reward, I came up with a reward, 800 gold pieces, something enough to hook low-level characters. But of course, we're going to presume that they're going to get more treasure when they go into the castle itself. The setting is going to be in a castle guarded by bandits, berserkers, and mediums. So using the old Moldvay class level distinctions on that one. The party is 7 members strong. I rolled the members. I rolled their levels. I highly recommend, if you're going to roll levels, that you roll low level with 1d3. So 1 and 2 equals 1. 3 and 4 equals 2, and 5 to 6 equals 3. Low level, low level, low level, low level. I want to also point something out to you too, that if you decide you're going to put random monsters into the dungeon, let's just say you're going to randomly roll a bunch of monsters. I want you to make sure that you keep this in mind, that your say is final, and that includes creation of yours. So if you decide something sounds too dangerous, tweak it. Now, if you play through it and it wasn't that dangerous, well, at least you have a learning experience. Now you know, okay, well, maybe we need to bump the difficulty up a little bit. Maybe I should have kept those monsters. So maybe this die roll is better than that die roll. I also want to point out that when you're creating dungeons, uh, you should pay attention to the three tables at the top. 1, 2, 3. Level 1, 2, 3. And no more. You're starting out at low level. You need to make it. I promise you, those tables are fine enough. They're difficult enough. They're dangerous enough. You don't need a roll on the level 6 to challenge a level 1 party. So I want you to keep that in mind. Trust me. You'll probably hear the term action economy. And that is when that has to do with the amount of movements and attacks within a turn. And see, in this game, it's very simple, but it's the player character's action economy versus the monsters controlled by the GM. So let's say, okay, I have seven members of this NPC faction. Okay, so that means that there's going to be 7 people. There's going to be 7 different attacks taking place in this round from that side. So if the party is 4 strong, the player characters are 4 strong versus these 7, it's going to be a little rough. We need to try to come up with an idea for them to. They don't even necessarily have to fight these guys, but if they decide to want to get into that, well, they submit themselves to the chaos of luck. So that's what it comes down to. So keep in mind that these games are not designed as combat scenarios, but rather adventure scenarios. If combat happens, it used to be a rule of thumb that something has gone terribly wrong. Now, that's not always the case, because you do need a little bit of combat, some of that tension in between. But you must also stress running away is a lot of the times the best idea. And you need to stress that the importance, you want to set down at the beginning of everything that grabbing treasure and finding ways to obtain it or to accomplish these quests like rescuing that princess. You can rescue a princess without having to spill any blood at all. It's going to be difficult, but you can do it. So try to come up with scenarios like that and just see the ingenuity of your players unfold. So I've kept you for too long. I've rambled on and on for 13 minutes. So with that, guys, I want to say thank you. Take care. God bless. I'll see you on the other side.